Hey guys, what's up? It's Erin here from the Petite Planner, and today you're watching my bullet journal plan with me video for November 2019. Now I am still in my Nuna at this point, which means that this month I had to get a little bit more creative with my approach. If you were here for last month's video, you know that I found out that all of my markers, like everything, was bleeding through my pages, and at some point, it just drives me crazy when I put a lot of work into something. For the most part, I can handle some ghosting, but actual bleed through kind of drives me nuts. So this month, I'm using colored pencils, and I will be using a black Faber-Castell marker that is pretty thick, but I had tested it out before doing all this, and it didn't bleed through, so I felt pretty safe using it. And this month, I went for a theme that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've just been too nervous. And I saw a quote a while back about, stepping out of your comfort zone and doing things that are scary. And I thought, why not? Let's just give it a try. So a little backstory here. I don't draw people. I've always had a very hard time. When I was like 13, maybe a little bit before that too, I drew my own paper dolls, and then I would cut them out and make them clothes and stuff like that. But looking back, they were never excellent, and as I got older I stopped drawing people, and it's just never been anything that I've been very good at. So I practiced and practiced before this and took inspiration from different artists that I found on Pinterest and different people that I saw on Instagram, things like that, and I just kind of came up with a style that worked for me. So I used a technique that I had seen on YouTube, which I will link to her down below. She is the one that I followed to just kind of get the face shape that I wanted, which is this very cartoon vibe. Obviously, this is not meant to be hyper realistic. And then the other thing that I wanted to incorporate this month is this very fun galaxy theme. I think that the face inspiration for this came actually from some makeup artists that have done this drippy galaxy face paint, and I love the look of it, but I had to use colored pencils because all my markers bleed through, so this took forever. I hope that this video does these pages justice. It took me a little over 3.5 hours for this entire spread, and this spread is only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, no, a little longer than that, 6 pages I think, and it took me about 3.5 hours to do all these pages. So I hope this shortened 13.5-minute video does it justice. The other thing that I want to note is that I am using some Crayola colored pencils. So I do not have a super nice set of colored pencils because ever since I started bullet journaling, I have really gravitated more towards Tombows and even fine line pens for coloring. I just prefer that really deep saturation, and it's what I started with, and it's just kind of what I've grown to use and feel comfortable with. So when all those things failed me in this notebook, I kind of had to just use what I had on hand, which was a pack of 100 Crayola colored pencils from Amazon. So they're not the best for blending. I had to push super hard to get them very saturated. So it didn't turn out probably as good as somebody who is using like polychromos or something that's a lot nicer, but I am really happy with the overall product of this. This so far, just flipping through it aesthetically, this is my favorite spread. I also think it turned out pretty efficient for me. The one thing that I will always miss, and the one thing that always gravitates me back to these Nunas, is the size. I love that I'm able to put this really big calendar on here, and I have all these big boxes that I can write events in, and I could write out my meal plan or my workout plan, and they're big enough for me to get all that information in on my calendar. So I really, really like that, and then still having room left over for decorations. So this is my calendar page, and I messed it up right off the bat by making a few lines that I didn't mean to make. So on that right-hand column, those are my weekends, so Saturday and Sunday. My weeks always start on Monday, and I put the lines in the wrong place, and then while I was drawing the little header bar, I extended it a bit too far on that line on the left page. So to fix those, I went in with my white pen. I think I initially started with my white gel pen, and then I let that dry, and then I went over it a little bit later with my Posca paint pen in white, and it did pretty good. There's still a little bit of shadow coming through there, but it's nothing that I can't deal with. But there is one more mistake on this page that is rather major, and if you can find it, let me know in the comments. I think it's rather funny looking back now. I did find a way to creatively fix it, but it took me a while to even realize what I had done. So continuing with my theme here, I decided to just continue these big black splotches. So they're supposed to be kind of like space. I filled them in with white stars with the gel pen. But I really like this. I am such a, I love the color black. I love black clothing. I like black in notebooks. It just is one of those colors that I gravitate towards, and I don't know if it's just because it's always so rich and dark, and it's so contrasting when it's in a notebook against white paper. So I love black and white. I love color too, but I'm always really drawn towards black and white. I also did a little astronaut up in the corner with a geometric pattern around it, or a geometric frame. I'm terrible at drawing hands, so it took me forever to lay those out in pencil ahead of time, and they're still not great, but for me, I'm pretty happy with them. If you have any tips for me on drawing people, or if you know any YouTubers that are really great at drawing people and teaching people to draw people, I would be so appreciative if you'd leave them in the comments, because it is something that I would love to work on and get better at in the future. So to add a little bit of color to this page to kind of go with my cover page, I did add color to the helmet there, and then later on I decided to add some color onto the right hand side where the star is, and then the planet. You won't see it in this, but during the flip through at the end, I end up coloring that planet in blue. I just felt like this page had so much less color than the cover page that it was just kind of driving me crazy. I needed a little bit more balance between the black and then the color. So for all of my stars, I am using a Jelly Roll white gel pen, and in the past I'd always used the Uniball Signo, but it seemed to run out of ink really fast, and there were a lot of times that when I would lay it over black ink that it would almost soak in the black ink, and then it was this off gray color. So I found this white Jelly Roll pen at Michael's, and it seems to work a lot better, and so far I feel like it is lasting longer than the other one. The next page I'm working on is my goals page. So I have aligned that my goals and my habit tracker are right next to each other. And my goals page is rather big, and I am always a little bit hesitant to make a full goals page because I don't always end up filling it up. But this month I went with a different layout than I normally do. So in the past, I have always just done different columns or boxes where I can write my goal down, and then throughout the month I can kind of check in on myself and see how I'm doing. But this month I decided to do these progress bars. So I'm going to draw some progress bars for 4 different goals that I have this month. And as the month goes on, I'm going to kind of fill those bars in based on how I am perceiving my goals. And then I left a little bit of space below each bar, and there I can kind of just write down notes or anything that I want to write about my goals or my progress thus far, things that might help me improve, that kind of stuff. So there's not a ton of room beneath each bar, but there is enough for me, I feel like, for an entire month. I don't usually end up filling up an entire column, so I figured that this was a nice happy medium. And of course I went with this same like blobby galaxy feel, so I just did the bars and I attached these blobby ends to them and colored them black, and then used my white gel pen to write my goals into each of those little blobs. So moving on to my habit tracker, I am keeping with this galaxy girl theme. I decided that I was going to draw this girl who was laying down, and she's kind of resembling the same woman that is on my cover page. So she has purple hair and those short choppy bangs. And so I put her laying down, and initially I was going to draw out her entire body and give her some sort of an outfit, but the legs were giving me a huge issue. So instead I ended up putting this big black blob where I'm going to write habits, and it almost kind of looks like a dress, or like her body is fading off into the universe. And I ended up liking it a lot more. It was a much more creative approach, a lot easier as well. This month I'm only doing 6 habits. In the past I've been doing between like 8 and 10, and this month I went for 6. I'm trying to narrow them down because I find that I get really overwhelmed easily, and I don't know if everybody is as motivated by their habit tracker as I am, but I'm pretty motivated by mine. So when the end of the day comes and I still have like 4 or 5 things that I haven't done, I feel this like need to hurry up and cram them in, and then I'm not doing them to the best of my ability, or I get frustrated because I don't do them. So this month I narrowed it down to 6 that I feel are important to me, and that is going to be working out, tracking my calorie intake, Duolingo, writing 500 words, Instagram, and then my last one is book work. So I will leave that up to you for interpretation of what you think that means. But these are the things that I'm really trying to focus on. Each of them is kind of in correlation with my upcoming life or with my goals. So Duolingo, this is when I get to announce to you that we are going on a pretty big vacation, at least for me, at the beginning of January. Actually, over my birthday, we are going to Sayulita, Mexico, and I've never been out of the country. In fact, our passports are in the mail right now. I've actually never really been out of the northern Midwest, so this is a pretty big trip for me. I haven't been on a plane since I was like 4 years old. So I'm trying to learn some Spanish because where we are going is not a big travel destination. Instead, it is much more of a very cultural place. It's going to be a lot of people who just speak Spanish, and there aren't going to be a lot of touristy places that people speak English. I have a pretty good understanding of Spanish, and I've spoken some Spanish in the past, so it's coming pretty easily, and Duolingo has helped me. I don't know, some people don't like it, but I really like it. And then aside from that, I'm keeping the most of the other ones are also in my other habit trackers except for the book work. So I am working on a project, and this is something that I need to be doing on a daily basis. So we are on to my very last page in this spread, and it is of course my gratitude log. And I wanted to show you kind of how I put this face together, so I didn't pre-draw it out. So I start with a circle, and then I section off about the bottom quarter of it, and that's where the eyes go. And then from there, I draw the nose right at the bottom of the circle, and then add this kind of tapered triangle for her chin and her jawline. Again, I will find the video that I watched, and I will leave the link down in the description if you are interested in trying to draw these kind of cartoony looking people. For this girl, I decided to just put some little stars and moons in her hair because this page is pretty much taken up by a big blob of black ink. I decided that for my gratitude log to go with my theme and to just do something a little bit different than I normally do, I was going to color the entire page, for the most part, black, and then throughout the month I will use a white gel pen to write or doodle in my gratitude for the month. So that wraps up my November 2019 Plan With Me video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed creating it. This was probably one of my most fun spreads that I've put together in a long time, and I think a lot of that is just trying something different and taking a very different approach to what I normally do. It's nice to do that. It's also kind of intimidating when you're doing it on camera, but it was a lot of fun. If you like this and you want to see more videos in the future, please hit that like button. You have no idea how appreciative I am when you do that. And then subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.